Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get this thing underway if you don't mind, and we'd like to wrap it up as soon as possible, and as you can appreciate, we've got a few things to do. First of all, in just a matter of a very few words, I want to tell you the reason we called this, or that we wanted to get together with each of you. I want to set the record straight on a few things, first of all, and then each person here at the table is a free agent to say what he has on his mind. There is nobody being crowded out of this investigation or leaving the investigation as far as I know. As a matter of fact, I think everybody will be deeper committed than they have been in the past. We have been in it since the beginning, and we're in it a little deeper than ever, as I'm sure you can appreciate. The order is very clear that was issued, and of course I intend to follow it. I've worked with Sheriff Harvey, Chief Krasny, Prosecutor Deli, Chief Walton, and of course Chief Hay to some degree. All of these men for many years. I've known them, they're personal friends. There's no problem between the police officers on this assignment. And any newsman that attempts to read such a problem into it, it's something of his own making, and I want to make that real clear at this time, so there's no misunderstanding. The police officers can work together and get along. And I would appreciate it if the newsmen would try to leave it that way and not try to create dissension, because it is not here. Now, beyond that, there's little to say about the investigation itself that you probably don't already know. The tips are continuing to come in and the team assignments are being made. Some increases in personnel and some changes in assignment are being made. Captain Dan Meir, whom I think most of you know, the head of our detective division, will be the personal representative, as far as I'm concerned, here at the scene. He is no amateur in this field. He has 21 years of police service, 8 of which was in the latent print section of our crime lab. He's 3 years in charge of the intelligence and was in charge of the DB at Detroit. So he will be here on a full-time basis. We have asked the Eastern Michigan University facilities, Mr. Stetfeld, I believe it is, to continue in the role that he has functioned in. There will be meetings at least twice a day. I believe on the 10 a.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. has been the practice, at which time he will be the man that will be meeting with you to answer questions and convey your questions to us. If there are any unusual occurrences or developments that we believe are newsworthy or should be passed on, or it's a two-way street, if you have something, certainly you can get in touch with us, and if there's a need for it, a special announcement or a conference would be called. But there is one hell of a lot of work to do here, and we intend to get on with the job. We're not interested in printing papers or running radio or TV stations. We do intend to cooperate with you. That's your business. Police work is ours, and we're going to carry it out. We have a number of good tips and leads that are being worked on.
The Hazard, Kentucky proved to be a young fellow who was trying to impress 2 young ladies. There was a knife found in his car which appeared to have blood substance on it. That proved not to be blood, and the man was just telling a phony story.
Colonel Davids, we can't hear you. Tips will continue to be coming in to the various agencies as well as to the seminary. Must the tips be passed that come into the outside be passed immediately through your office, or can the individual agencies work on them themselves first?
This is being worked out between the independent agencies and here. The last I heard, it was being considered yesterday by Mr. Stoddard, and Mr. Kelly and some other people were discussing the pros and cons of the FBI entering the case.
Colonel Davids, can you give us any idea of the additional manpower being assigned against these?
Well, in numbers, it will not be a lot. One significant addition that I see to the capabilities here, that a lean teletype terminal will be installed today, which will give the officers of all the agencies working out of here the capability of contacting both our Identification Bureau, the FBI Crime Information Center in Washington, and other police agencies direct from this scene here without confusion on the part of communications.
Colonel Davids, do you plan to bring in any outside experts on sex crimes to assist you?
We've got a lot of experts right here.
Colonel Davis,
No,
the
like
FBI
Canny in Detroit or somebody like this.
I have discussed nothing like that.
Colonel Davis, the FBI to come into this case would have to bend some rules on it because the law is clear. Do you understand it?
I think Mr. J. Edgar Hoover is the man that could answer that question best.
Colonel Davids, if the FBI came in, would this cause a problem in coordination, or would they operate separately, or would they be brought into this unit that you have here?
We welcome any legitimate law enforcement agency that has something to contribute.
Would they would come in with your group and work with you, or would they have to conduct their own?
I think my answer was quite clear.
Colonel, are you now looking for one man, or you got to that stage where you distilled your evidence?
We're looking for one man or men that might be involved, anybody that was involved.
Have they ruled out the possibility of maybe a woman being behind this?
We've thought of the possibility of everybody except the good Lord himself.
Do you think it could be the work of several people working in concert?
I wouldn't speculate on that.
Colonel, can we get down to some realities of what you do know and can do instead of speculating all morning?
Well,
Do you know at this stage where the girl was killed? Because there's been rumors and stories in the press about it. Is it a fact that you found the spot? Yes or no?
I think the answer to that is no.
Have you found any of the clothing or any clothing that you believe could belong to her?
I can't answer that honestly because there's a difference of opinion on the part of some of the witnesses as to exactly what she was wearing.
Have you not had an opportunity to check her apartment as to what personal clothing may be missing? Would the family not know that? Or the room maybe?
The apartment has been checked, but the previous answer still stands.
Colonel Davis, is there any plans at this time to formally brief other area law enforcement officers or cities in the event that this killer might be coming in from some distance away?
This has been done to quite a degree, and I agree with you that probably we can and will be doing it more so, because this is a distinct possibility that somebody with these thoughts in mind may not confine all their activities to Washtenaw County.
Colonel?
Yes.
The composite drawing is a good one, but it looks like thousands of young men.
Yes.
Do you have any solid
Well, I might say that to confirm what you have said, we have found some that look so much like it that it looked like they posed for it.
Have you interviewed or questioned?
Yes, some of them have been questioned and some have been cleared.
Some have not been cleared?
I said some have been questioned and some have been cleared.
Some have not been cleared then?
You heard my answer, I'm sure.
Is that the suspect then?
I wouldn't speculate any further on that.
Colonel, is it fair to conclude that this person has to have some fairly good knowledge of this area, though? Maybe not, as you suggest, there's a possibility of someone flying in and out or coming in and out, but at the same time, at some point, he has to have lived in this area to know this roads, all of this well enough. Or a former student of the college, perhaps, who's coming back now, or someone who has knowledge of the area.
Well,
rather than a total outsider.
in answer to the first part of your question, I think it's logical to conclude that somebody has pretty fair knowledge of the area.
Colonel, do you feel that by the entrance of the state into the investigation, it might frighten the killer off from trying to?
Well, I'd like to emphasize once again that the state has been in the investigation almost since the beginning. I couldn't speculate on that. I don't know how he thinks. I wish I did.
Colonel, do you think the killer is plotting anything?
You might have good reason to think that.
Colonel, are you going to provide information for Peter Hergos when he comes back?
I never met Peter Herkos. I don't know.
Colonel, have you ever, you believe you've ever received any communication from the killer or killers in the form of a note or a phone call taunting the police?
Well, obviously, that's impossible to answer. I don't know.
Colonel, will you continue to keep this center in operation as the clearinghouse, or will you move to basic operation?
No, sir. The present plans are to continue operation here.
Could you explain the confusion in what the girl had on? Are we looking for brown culottes or jeans cut off? You said there was some discrepancy in the witness. Can you explain that?
Well, the discrepancy was nothing more than what might be between a friend of your wife's and somebody else's. I think she had a pink blouse on. No, I thought she had the white one on. It's a difference of opinion, an honest difference of opinion between two people that which we hope to resolve.
But we're sure on the brown culotte and the sand. Fairly.
Colonel Davis?
Prosecutor Deli is qualified to answer that. I just assumed he would. Go ahead and speak up, Bill.
Well, originally, she was described by some people as wearing a blue denim or something like that. However, other people who saw her in later point of time saw her or described her as in the brown culottes. In the course of the House investigation, we came to the conclusion that she owned two blue denim type of shorts or pedal pushers or whatever they may be, and they were both present in the room. So this leads us not to affirm, or leads us to the opinion that she was probably wearing the brown culottes. That's about the best as I can answer.
What did the wig shot?
Let's go back and check. We've talked to so many witnesses and describing. I would have to check our records on that.
Is there any idea on the number of missing girls you have? There's always some girls who are missing.
I think the chief could
I was just
answer
going to
that
say, I
better.
couldn't give you a count without checking.
Mr.
We're talking about a dozen or 20 or 50 or...
I wouldn't speculate even as to numbers. There's always a number of people who are missing, and this is just part of the business.
Mr. Della, you said that the last persons, if I heard you right, the last persons who saw her, there was some question as to what she had on, and you found a pair of blue jeans in the apartment. Have you established her whereabouts after that wig shop? No. So then it's the people in the wig shop who are confused. Those people, yeah.
Mr. Kelly, your witnesses gave a very good composite description of the alleged killer. Why couldn't they give any description? The woman is very alert on clothing of the girl she was wearing.
Well, I'm afraid that would have to be best answered by her. She describes to the police artist, of course, and he draws a composite. Possibly she would have called more attention to his face than the clothing of the girl. She was maybe interested in the person on the motorcycle.
To any citizen who may have seen this girl, that the woman looked more for clothing than she would for at a face of a man.
Well, we have the description of the clothing that she is of the opinion that Karen was wearing. This is about all I can say.
What was her opinion?
That I'd have to go back and check the records. There are different descriptions in different point of time. I would have to check the records.
To answer your question, I think before the day is over, this will be cleared up to our satisfaction.
Yeah, Colonel Davids,
Yes.
you said that you couldn't honestly say whether you had found any of her clothing because there was a discrepancy about what she was supposed to have on. Now, does this mean that you have found some clothing that you think might have belonged to her?
I think this is obvious. This has even been noted in the press that certain items of clothing have been found, that there's a question of whether or not it was hers.
Could you tell us where they were found?
I don't know whether the location is given or not. I can't tell you right now, no.
Sheriff Harvey?
They were found out in the LaForge area, part of the clothing, and some other clothing is found in another area. In the LaForge Road area.
Yeah, LaForge and what?
Just in the LaForge Road area is where we found it. I know it sure
I
is.
think that's a close enough answer. To pinpoint it wouldn't add much to it.
Colonel Davids, to clear up one thing, so we don't have any misunderstandings after the news conference. You said in relation to the composite that you'd had some people brought in question that bore a great resemblance to this, and then you said some have been questioned and some have been cleared. The impression left in my mind is that there are some that have not been cleared. Is this true or not?
There is nobody in jail to answer your question.
Are there some suspects that have yet to be cleared?
Well, I think that's quite obvious in that we have a number of tips that are still being investigated.
But no one in jail.
Nobody in jail.
Colonel, Chief Hayes say as to new security regulations forthcoming on campus, if there are any.
Chief Hayes, go ahead.
Well, I'm sure you people are all aware of the changes that have been made, the sign in, the sign out in the dorms. Of course,
patrols, Chief, on the campus by your forces, or are you just moved to regular?
no, we've moved extra patrols, and I moved in a new shift where
recovering from dark to daylight.
Colonel, on the basis of the fact that the state police have been involved all along, and as of today, do you feel these crimes are related?
I have good reason to believe and have kept up with the case enough throughout the investigation that I believe many of them are related. Whether or not all of them, I can't answer you.
Sheriff Arbor, in relation to the stakeout before, did your officers get close enough to this man to establish that it was the man on the motorcycle?
What man are you talking about? There was 25 people checked out that night.
The man that fled from the ditch.
Well, to clear it up, there was no man that fled from the ditch to begin with. This has been cleared a long time ago. This man was by the mailbox, which is some 25, 30 feet from the ditch where the body was.
That man, did they get close enough to see him?
No, it was too dark.
That man did not come over and approach the mannequin, no?
No, he did not. Not very well. We didn't find him.
Old or young?
It was too dark, gentlemen.
I think it's pretty clear that they didn't get close to him and they don't know who he was.
Colonel, for Sheriff Harvey, do you have any idea of how much the county has been spending on overtime on this investigation?
No, I have no idea. I know it's
Tens of thousands?
it's a lot of money. I have no idea actually what the count is.
There were reports earlier this week that police in Ann Arbor had staked out a house based off that somebody was the suspect maybe returning to. Was this true and anything come out of that?
Were there such reports? Is somebody fishing?
There have been reports to that effect, and as I've told the news media before, we do have tips that come in, and we do take a check on them. If we have to stake a house out, we will.
Colonel, is it at any time during the investigation have any of these police agencies used female decoys to try to draw this man to the person's out?
I wouldn't answer that question.
Colonel,
Is there a blouse that was found in the Ford Road area, or what you believe to be your blouse, the article of clothing?
Yeah, it was a woman's blouse that was found, yes.
You have not determined yet whether it was this girl or not.
Well, we've checked with the roommates and they found out that it was not hers.
Colonel, you made it pretty clear you feel you have the best police talents that can be working on this on the case now, you said earlier in relation to that. What about other types of people, such as psychiatrists or specialists in other areas of criminology, giving any consideration at this stage to perhaps bringing in people on a consultant basis?
We have been in touch with people in the professional field of psychiatry and will continue to be, and certainly give consideration to the use of any people with those talents.
In Boston in '63, they brought in a special and formed a special panel of consultant medical, psychiatric people to see if they couldn't come up with anything that would be of assistance to the investigation. Are you going to weigh that possibility? You've already had in one of the people, but what's his name? Mr. Herkus.
Now, I'd like to correct you. You say you have already had
He
in.
has already been involved, but not in
that's
the
better.
policing aspect. But in any event, would you give consideration to the establishment of some kind of paramedical committee of that?
Any legitimate professional that can assist, we're giving great consideration to the use of it.
Colonel Davids, you have evidence of every success of these killers or killers. Do you have any evidence that this person has attempted to abduct or kill a girl and has failed? Have you had any reports from any ladies?
My knowledge.
You want me to answer
that?
Well, this is rather difficult to answer. Part of our investigation, of course, has been, well, after this last incident where a person on a motorcycle had attempted to quote, pick up, unquote, a girl and give her a ride. Naturally, those have been turned in, have been run down completely. Does that answer your question?
Bill, for girls who were some man matching this description of him to pick up in the Atlanta area that morning, Wednesday morning, the girl.
Yes, there was that report and it was investigated.
Did you have reason to believe this might have been the same man or case, or at least some okay?
I don't know. We've checked them out.
Colonel Davids, in your investigation so far, are you working on the premise that this is one killer, or could there be more than one killer, or a gang of coordinated killers?
We have not narrowed our mind to the fact that it may be one. And wherever the circumstances indicate the need to look for more than one, we are.
Any indication that it could be a gang?
I wouldn't answer that at this time. I couldn't say yes to it.
For Prosecutor Deli, I understand there's a 16-year-old ward of the court in Washtenaw County that's missing. Do you know, have any word on that, or tell us what this is?
I've just been informed that she has been found.
Colonel Davids, you said earlier that you had a feeling that some of these murders might be linked, but not all of them necessarily. Is there any evidence in the autopsies that would give you the impression of how many might be linked as to certain things done by the killer or killers as opposed to?
I think I'd have to stand on the previous answer that I do believe that some are linked, but to say that 3, 4, 2, or 1, I wouldn't speculate on a number.
Consistent with each of the victims.
There are similarities. Those have been discussed prior to that and covered at great length in the press. But to speculate on the number that are linked, I wouldn't do it.
No, I'm not asking you to speculate on the number. I'm asking you what sort of medical evidence you would have that would tie any few together.
I couldn't answer that now.
Colonel Davids, I don't see any University of Michigan representative at the table there. Are you going to work with them as well?
You bet your life. They're in it all the way. I've been talking with the president of the university, and they're willing to cooperate in any way they can.
Colonel Davids, young lady who'd like to...
Yes.
Have you had any success looking to the yearbooks, any of you have been finding possible suspects? Two pictures that me and you, yearbook point out to me as being likely suspects in terms of resembling the cause.
That's being done, I'm told, presently.
Have you found anything?
Not up to this point, but we're presently in the act of carrying out this particular type of work that you're bringing up. And in connection with the question immediately prior to yours, just prior to this news conference, the man from the University of Michigan Security Force called me personally, and the last moment incident turned up over there not related with this investigation in any way that made them unavailable. That is the only reason that he's not here, so there's no misunderstanding there.
Colonel Davids, if you found someone that you consider to be a prime suspect, at this point in the investigation, do you have enough physical evidence to make a case?
I don't think that we'd comment. I'll have to decline to answer your question.
Colonel, you have several bodies. Shooting, stabbing, wire strangulation, and unknown strangulation. You compare them all as by one killer?
I'll go back to my previous answer that we believe some are related, but not necessarily all.
Colonel Davids, there was a body found between the first and second killings, and Eileen Marie Adams, who was 14 years old, found off US 23 in Monroe County. She had a nail driven into the back of her neck. She'd been somewhat mutilated. The cause of death was believed to be wire strangulation. This was on December 18, 1967, her disappearance. She was from Toledo.
That case is checked out.
Do you believe that this may be tied in or connected with these other killings in the Ann Arbor area?
That case was checked on. The men here are familiar with it, but we showed no tie-up here.
No, we were unable to come up with any connection. Thought was given, conference was held in connection with this particular body that this gentleman is speaking about. A conference related to the bodies that had been found in the Washtenaw County area up to that particular point, and as a result of this conference, there was really no significant finding as to whether it could be or couldn't be connected. It's, the answer to that is in limbo.
Sheriff Harvey, can you give us your feeling about the reorganization of the investigation?
Yes, I see nothing different other than the fact that Colonel Davids has come down. The Michigan State Police, we've used them. We've had the finest talent from the Michigan State Police already working on the cases right from the start. We've used their crime lab every time. The governor, I felt, did not need to invoke this act. All he had to do was call up and say, "Will you mind if he comes down?" And I've been more than happy. Just like the colonel said himself, we're more than happy to have any agency, professional police agency, come in here and help us on this murder investigation. We're concerned in solving the 7 murders.
Colonel, will you bring in the Detroit Police?
We're in touch with the Detroit Police regularly, and they have been in the past. They assist in any way they can, but they have their own problems to contend with too.
Colonel, with this new organization set up, these crimes?
Mr. Weaver, I'm always optimistic. As a matter of fact, I'm a born optimist.
Remember the Optimist Club?
And I'm a member of the Optimist Club.
Colonel, let's go back to the press conference. We've been having press conferences being called for 10 o'clock in the morning. We don't get our answers till 11:30.
We'll see what we can do to speed it up.
In other words, the intermediate gentleman leaves his area at 10. That's not going to allow a lot of us afternoon newspapers. There's an afternoon newspaper call. If the press conference is called at 10, we don't mean 10:30 or 4 to 11. We mean 10.
We're getting a lot of free service, and I don't want to push our gift too hard, but I'll see if we can't do something to help you out.
Wouldn't it be better if your Captain Myers would be the best contact man for us? Because we as newsmen, there's questions are lost. Going from one party to another party, from that party back to that party to us again.
No, I don't think they're lost. I think they're very carefully carried on, and for the time being, that's the way we'll function.
Well, some of our questions have never been answered. They've been lost.
Are you going to keep these people informed?
Yes, sir.
Sheriff Harvey, is there any evidence that any of the recent 4 or 5 girls who were killed quite close together put up a fight before they died?
Well, I don't want to answer on that particular question right now.
Unless you got some of the fingernails or anything like that?
Nothing of that right now.
I was wondering because none of the descriptions of the young man have contained any description of physical damage done. And it seems to argue either that they might be not related or one man was involved.
We don't know this yet.
Sheriff, have you any way to believe that the person who perpetrated the crime may have washed the bodies before dumping them because of certain things being missing, such as foreign fibers?
The autopsy reports have never indicated this at all.
But you have never found any foreign fiber, have you, sir?
I wouldn't answer that.
In transporting the bodies?
I'll decline to answer this. We go by the autopsy report.
Sure. What about your crime lab? Have they come up with any foreign material?
You'll have to ask the crime lab about that.
Colonel?
We're not at the liberty to speculate on every little item. You can appreciate what could happen if we did. They're being run ragged today on some of the phony confessions.
Has foreign material been found?
The crime lab has found a great deal of evidence, which we hope someday is going to prove very valuable in convicting somebody.
Along the same line, the autopsy of Miss Beineman showed that she probably had been beaten before she died. Now, in the other girls who were mistreated, abused, and so forth, did this occur before or after death? Those are not.
I think if you recall, this has even been released and printed, that in some of the other cases there was similar mistreatment on some of the girls. I wouldn't speculate on before or after death. Yeah. I wouldn't... I couldn't speculate on that at this time, no. What do you think, Bill? Is there any point in speculating on that? Do you want to answer or forget it? No. I think we'll leave the answer as is, that we won't...
Can it be determined medically? I mean, is there any way in the...
Oh, yes, there's no question, but what an injury or a wound can be determined by the pathologist, whether it's before or after death.
Can you determine whether, if a woman has been raped, can you determine whether it's taken place before or after death?
I won't go into the medical phase of it. I think I know the answer, but I'm not going to pass myself off as a pathologist.
Well, I mean, can it be done? That's all I'm asking.
Yes, I'm quite sure it can be.
Colonel, in the case of autopsies, when there has been cases of rape, they come up with any indication that more than one person was involved. They can't be established.
Yeah. This is something I couldn't answer. I don't know. I don't think it can be determined.
This cannot be.
It cannot be determined?
No, we went into that quite extensively in some of the other cases, and I met with Dr. Hendricks. This is done by determination of blood typing from the seminal fluid. However, you have A, B, O, and AB. And unless you know the man who had the sexual relations in his blood type, in other words, if there's none there, If it's type O, which means the absence of typing, if two people had type O, it wouldn't make any difference. If A was there, and there were two men involved, and one had type O and one A, it again would mean nothing. This, of course, we have gone extensively into this, and determinations in this area. But I was left with the opinion from Dr. Hendricks that it could not be determined whether more than one was involved by use of blood typing from seminal fluid.
Colonel, what is your understanding at this point of the requested FBI involvement?
I can't answer that. The last I knew that somebody in Lansing, probably the Attorney General, and Mr. Paul Stoddard, the agent in charge, were conferring yesterday. The outcome of that I do not know.
The FBI would get involved perhaps yesterday?
I didn't hear the first part of your question.
You hope that the FBI would get involved perhaps as soon as yesterday?
I couldn't answer that. I don't know whether they will be involved today or not. Mr. Stoddard's the best man to answer it, probably in Detroit.
Colonel, will your investigation now concentrate on the Beineman case, or are some investigators working also on the older?
We're working on all of them. All of them. True, the last one is the freshest and probably more concentrated. About 2 or 3 more questions.
Colonel, do you have anybody from the Attorney General's staff here with the investigation, or are they simply available if you want them?
There is nobody here, and of course they're available.
Do you plan on bringing in one of the assistant attorney generals?
Have no such plan.
Back to the hazard trip, would it be proper to assume that since 2 of the top 3 law enforcement people in the county went on the trip, that at one time this guy was a pretty hot suspect, or not?
Well, obviously we would not have expended the time nor the money if we didn't believe that it was a worthwhile check. It did appear to be. Yes. No, sir.
Why?
Another question?
Why?
Oh, there's many areas yet to explore.
Are you going much beyond Washtenaw County?
Yes, sir.
Are you in fact checking the registration of every, the 70,000 odd motorcycles in the state?
Well, you're going a little far afield when you say all of them in the state, but we're checking the Secretary of State files in conjunction with the investigation.
Colonel Davids, are the students at Eastern Michigan and at the University of Michigan cooperating in the investigation as far as answering questions, or do you feel that their attitude has been a hindrance to the investigation?
I would say quite the opposite. To the best of my knowledge, they've been most cooperative. One more question.
These were women who identified as motorcycles, okay?
Yes.
Are you positive that they gave you a good identification?
You're never positive of an identification that a woman gives you, or nor a man.
His question, you got any of these women who are alleged witnesses, have they ever witnessed a motorcycle?
I can't answer that. Maybe, who's the best one? How about that?
Not to my knowledge.
What's your personal representative's full name here, Captain?
Captain Dan Meir, M-Y-R-E.
M-Y-R-E.
Right.
Does this mean we won't have no further Davids to push around anymore?
You'll probably get tired of seeing me around here.
Colonel, could I ask one more question? In terms of the